Jimmy Butler, he's a very interesting player to me.
He's like, oh, shoot, I don't know where to go with the ball because I haven't been able to think.
It was a great series. Game 4 was one of the best games I've ever watched in my entire life. Now LeBron's a 4-time champion, and Anthony Davis gets his first.
It's unacceptable. So happy when the Astros lost because it would definitely be a 2020 thing.
Yeah, I was impressed by their game. Braden Point, Andre Palat, Nikita Kucherov. That was the best line in the playoffs, no doubt.
Stay undefeated when they face the mighty Cowboys with Garrett Gilbert.
Hey everyone, I'm Jared Sandler, and you're listening to Outsiders Opinions.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to our NHL Opinions of the Week, a top 10. I'm Kevin, and I'm joined by the man not in net tonight. Neither of us are in net.
Awesome. Kevin, I would hate it. I could not do what a goalie can do, Kevin.
Especially, sorry, what were you going to say?
You go.
Especially, I played soccer goalie. I don't enjoy it. It's terrible. I can't imagine a hockey goalie.
It'd be even worse. Insane. It'd be even worse. Even though you have all that padding, that puck is coming fast, 100 miles an hour plus often. And it does worry me sometimes seeing a goalie take a slap shot to maybe the right under the arm. And I'm like, wow, is he going to keep playing after that? But they usually do, but this is not a position that I could ever play, not even hope to play.
Yeah. I would just want the helmet because I love the helmet designs. It's so cool.
The helmets are really, really cool. It's the best part of I think it's the best part of any uniform in sports. Oh, yeah. You get to design it however you want.
Yeah, I love telling people that are like getting into hockey. I'm like, dude, check out this mask. Especially Hudobin because he had Dobby, I'm pretty sure.
He did. He did.
And there are some awesome ones too. I'm just thinking of stars. You got Otter with the Otter. I even have an Otter sweatshirt, which is pretty cool. People are like, oh, it's such a cute otter. And I'm like, well, it's actually for Otter. I won't tell you. But it's pretty funny. But then some people will be like, nice sweatshirt. So a lot of good goalies on here. I'm very curious where you have the Boston tandem.
Well, let's find out. You want to start with your number 10?
Yeah, my 10 is Philip Gustafsson. I've probably talked about Gustafsson too much, but lately he's been good. But he's on this list because to me he was a little bit later in the season. He really took over that number one goalie lead role and played well in the playoffs. But these other guys have done it longer or had more impressive seasons. So that's why he's at 10 for me.
You and I agree off the bat. Gustafsson was amazing last year. I'm surprised. Do you think that the Stars still win that series if he starts the entire playoff series?
I don't know. I think it'd definitely go to a game 7. I really don't because they switched. Fleury did game 3, right?
I believe so, yeah.
And yeah, I think you should have kept Gustafsson and let him rolling because he was on fire for that beginning series.
Yeah, he definitely was. And I'm kind of shocked that, like I said, that they decided not to start him the majority of the game. Or they started the majority of the games, but not all the games. Especially after the goal scoring that the Stars displayed during a large portion of that series.
Yeah, that's a big question mark, I think, for the Wild head coach. But let's move to 9.
So my number 9 is Alexander Gordiev. He is the goaltender for, I believe, Colorado. He had a great year last year. He was 7th in voting for the Vezina. Just a solid goaltender. He came from New York because obviously they have Shesterkin in New York, who we will eventually get to in this list. But he's just not as good, but he's still very, very talented. And Colorado has another top 10 goaltender on their hands.
Yeah, I almost had Gordiev at 9, but I switched it for Frederik Andersen.
Okay. That's a good pick.
Yeah, he's really good. And I was like, man, Gordiev is great, but I went with Andersen. And then my 8 is Grubauer. Also incredible in that Seattle Kraken series. and wonderful for Colorado. And I think these are some elite goaltenders here.
Yeah, I have Grubauer here. I do not have Anderson making my list, unfortunately.
No,
But
that's fair.
I do have Grubauer. Grubauer really grew on me
Nice.
throughout his career, uh, especially because he wasn't great with Washington, and then he made that move to Colorado, and he was remarkable. And this season, he kind of fell off save percentage wise, but he was so good in the playoffs that I had him here. I still think he is warranting this top 8 spot, but next year he needs to play better than he did this past season, or he will fall out of the top 10 easily.
Yeah, there are really some goalies pushing for this top 10. But yeah, okay, so we're agreeing on 8. My 7 is Swayman. He's a little bit younger, and I know he had such an impressive season, but these other guys ahead of him have done a little bit more, even though some may be closer. But yeah, so Swayman's at my 7.
Okay, Swayman I think is a fair pick. I don't have Swayman making the list. I was close to, but it's just the fact that Omar played so well that I didn't want to have two Boston players on the same list.
Okay.
Uh, So, and this was a very tough list to make. So I went with my 7 is Connor Hellebuck, the goaltender, obviously for the Winnipeg Jets. Hellebuck, very solid again, but this wasn't one of his best seasons. He was third in Vezina, but we've seen better years from him. I still think he's incredible, but he did not play well in the postseason. And that's kind of what is the difference between a lot of these guys. While I could probably put Grubauer and Hellebuck in the same kind of area because Hellebuck played amazing in the regular season, but really struggled in the postseason. While Grubauer struggled in the regular season, but was much, much, much superior to Hellebuck in the postseason. I think the postseason is where it matters a little bit more, which is why Hellebuck, even though he was third in Vezina voting, falls a little bit because of those playoff performances. And his playoffs are worse than his regular season is usually.
Yeah, I have Hellebuck a little bit higher, but yeah, I agree with you. I think playoffs goalies are magnified because last few playoff runs, we have seen teams ride their goalie. I think the Stars started with Hodobin, then you had Price with the Canadians. They relied on Vasilevsky for the Tampa Bay Lightning. Maybe Colorado is no Grubauer won with them. Then he left. Um, but and then this past year, Aiden Hill, but he was kind of a surprise. But we've seen some teams go far based on goaltending, so that's always a thing I love. My 6 is Ottinger. He struggled this year. I think it was just conditioning. There was really no backup goalie for the Stars, and he didn't really have a great defensive in front of him. And he was on and off, but just the way he bounced back in the playoffs, I think he's young, but he's done it a little bit more than Swayman, so that's why he gets the edge over Swayman.
Okay. This is number 6, right?
Yes.
This is why I have Linus Olmark. Olmark was amazing last year, but I had to see it for longer. I need to see how he plays this year, and he can't play as well as he played last year. It's literally impossible. Kevin, he played in 48 games. He started 48 games. He won 40 of them. So you can't really replicate that. So I understand that he is can't be the same. He had 43 quality starts in 48 starts. Only had 5 starts that weren't quality starts. That's remarkable. And I don't really know if he can repeat it, but I don't necessarily need him to. I just need him to be consistent this next year and be a top 10 goaltender again. We would really appreciate it.
Yeah, I'll get to Olmark in a sec. My 5 is Hellebuck, as you mentioned. I think he's got a little bit more experience, and he did struggle in the playoffs, but to me, he got the edge over Ottinger because of Ottinger's struggle this year.
Okay. Is it my number 5?
Yes.
Okay, at 5, this is where I have Ottinger. I really do like Ottinger. They have to figure out how to play him less in the regular season. because you can't just waste how good he's been during his career. And he did struggle in the postseason, but an amazing regular season and historically a great postseason performer. I give him the nod. I trust Ottinger, and I think he's going to be really good.
Oh yeah, I absolutely love Ottinger. I feel I'm being a little bit harsher on him, but just because I love him and I think he's one of the best. And he's definitely young, and he's part of that young Dallas Stars team that's just incredible. I really love him, and he's already on a contract, which is nice. So
Yeah.
yeah. I don't know if you want to go into 4 or
You can go 4 first.
okay. 4 is Allmark. He's up here because of the impressive season, but I also think he's good. And I did debate putting both Boston goalies, but I think after the season they both had, like, they were close to top 5 in save percentage. At one point, I remember. I don't know if it finished that way, but I put him up there. But the other guys are just incredible as top 3.
Yeah. My number 4 is Ilya Sorokin. He was remarkable last year. Second in Vezina voting, and he should have been. People were saying he should have been above Olmark. I completely disagree with that. Olmark was absolutely remarkable. But so was Sorokin. Sorokin was the reason why they made the playoffs, and he was amazing in the playoffs as well. Just a tremendous goaltender. And I'm glad that he's trying to get in the praise he deserves. But I'll go into my number 3. 3 is Shesterkin. Shesterkin did not have the season that he would have wanted to have, or the Rangers would have wanted to have, but he was very good in the playoffs. Had 931 save percentage in the playoffs. He was eighth in Vezina voting, but I still believe in him, and I think he's another incredible goaltender.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Shesterkin's my 3.
Okay, who's your 2?
My 2 is Sorokin. He's just incredible. And for all the reasons you said, I think he's just amazing. And I do agree, Allmark was the Vezina, but Sorokin had an incredible year as well. It's just Allmark had a historical year, like the Bruins did.
That's true. My number 2 is Andrei Vasilevsky. Vasilevsky, 6th in Vezina voting. And he had a poor postseason, but I still believe in Vasilevsky. He's been so good, so consistently, that I understand why some people think he's fallen off a little bit, but he was very, very good this regular season. Like I said, in his last, I'm going to go over his last 6 seasons. Vezina 3, won the Vezina. Vezina 3, second in Vezina. Vezina 5, Vezina 6. Utterly consistent. And he's been great in the playoffs except for this last year. He has 921 career save percentage in the playoffs. His last season was 875. He was definitely a part of the reason why they lost to the Maple Leafs this year. But he's been so good so many years. I mean, the years before that, 922, 937, 927 in the playoffs on all those cup runs, and the one that they got second. Just an incredible goaltender. And I wanted to have him at 1, but I just think this one guy has passed him.
Okay, so if my math is correct, I don't have your 1 on my top 10.
That's remarkable.
Or do I? Because I have Vasilevsky as 1. Vasilevsky is my 1.
Okay. I don't think you do. I don't think you have my 1 on, which is incredible to say.
I feel like, I don't know. Who is it?
UC Saros. UC Saros is my number 1 goaltender in the NHL. He's so underrated. He is a shorter goaltender, 5'11", 5'10". But he really, this year, Nashville did not have a good defense. They lost a lot of their best defensive players. They still had Yossi, but after that, I mean, Ekholm was fine, but I believe, didn't they trade away Ekholm?
I believe
they
he's
traded
on
away
Florida,
Ekholm.
right?
Say again?
No, he was on
Oilers.
Oilers, yeah, with McDavid.
But he led the league in save attempts and saves. He starts the most, he played in 64 games, the most games. Last year, he played in the most games at 67 as a goaltender. Most minutes the past 2 years. Goalie point shares, he has been first the last 2 seasons. If he was on a better team, he would have a better record, and he would be shown a lot more praise. He was 4th in Vezina voting this last year, 3 the year before that, 6 the year before that. He is remarkable. Did you not
Yeah, I
have
feel
Ducey on your
terrible.
list, or where did you have him?
I don't have him on my list. I feel terrible.
Okay.
He was in contention. I'm like, man, where do I put Saros on this list? And then I just went with these other guys. But yeah, I was like, man, please. I was like, who am I forgetting? And you mentioned Saros. To me, Vasilevsky was my number one. I'm like, Vasilevsky is incredible. He's just a fantastic goaltender. I understand having Saros above him. I prefer Vasilevsky, but I really wish I could have Saros on this list. But I think I'd have to get rid of Swayman and move Olmark to Swayman spot. And then Saros could be in my top 5.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's why each of our lists are different. We have a different way of thinking about it. So it works both ways.
Yeah. Overall, I think when you get a top 10 goaltender, I think you can have a great team and can have playoff success.
I agree.
So let us know what you think in the comments. We appreciate you listening. Make sure to stay on socials. And thank you for listening to Outsiders Opinions.